Euphoria stars Zendaya as a 17-year-old recovering addict. It's profoundly moving, genre-bending coming-of-age fever dream, and I am with the series' lead composer, Labrinth. Labrinth, the music on Euphoria features layers of electronic and dance and R&B and hip-hop alongside orchestral and acoustic elements. It really is such a mashup of so many beautiful elements. And you perform as a vocalist on the soundtrack. For a newcomer to the show, how would you describe the score as a whole? Because I was struggling to put like a label on it.
I would say the score's very representative of me as a creative. So it's kind of like you're saying, it's very hard to put a finger on exactly what it is genre-wise and tone-wise, but I think it's kind of like a very kind of clear representation of what my soul looks like in creative form. Because Sam, the director, it was very important for him that I did what came naturally to me on this, and so everything was very instinctual on this score.
You know, because it is similar in some ways to your other records that you've released and you've made. And I just wonder, I mean, you kind of answered this already now with saying that the show's director wanted your authenticity, but did you have to do much in terms of changing your style to fit the narrative, or did you find there was a nice marriage of the two?
I think the show writes itself and it kind of articulates what it wants, if that makes sense. And I think with a lot of score writers, they probably would say the same. It's like when you see footage or you see something on film, you're like, I'm getting a vibe already. You get inspired. We kind of get inspired anyway by things we see happen in life, or someone on a bus or something, a certain conversation, and seeing film and getting Sam's perspective on what he wants to convey in the show. Instantly, like, just perked up ideas in my head. I was like, I was singing every 5 minutes.
Yeah, I can imagine. You know how a lot of composers have to toe the line between the extremes of invasive versus subliminal when they're scoring a show. I was imagining that you didn't really need to do a lot of that because the music is so vital to driving the narrative on Euphoria, more so than a lot of other shows. And I could be wrong, but that's just how I perceived the music. When you took on the project, did you appreciate how the score needed to be so intimately connected to the emotional beats in each episode?
I wasn't focused on that, honestly speaking. It was more of, I think it was just a labor of love and passion, and seeing Sam Livingston's passion for him telling the story. And of course, I don't know if you know, but the story is very close to his own personal life and him as a director, and something he really wanted to share with the world. So he explained what he wanted to do to me. I was instantly excited because you could instantly feel the passion for how he wants to convey this message or convey this world or this universe he created, which is Euphoria. And so I was instantly inspired because it felt like every character and every nuance of the show was carefully thought out and cared for. Like everything was considered, and when you watch the show, you kind of feel like that's what you're getting in the acting, in the directing, in the shooting, in every angle. Like, it feels like everybody cared, and that's literally what Sam got out of all of us. And so for me, as a composer, I was first-time composer. I was just kind of inspired by Sam's energy, and that's literally what you're hearing on the show.
Yeah, it's so apparent when you're hearing it, when you're watching it. You wrote a song with the star Zendaya, All For Us, which is featured at the end. How did it come about that you guys would collaborate on a song to cap the season off?
I was working on, I write music, like just for the sake of writing music. I really enjoy creating music, and I guess if we love something, we all love doing it as much as possible. And I had All For Us sitting there, and it was like a kind of seed of an idea. And at the time, a mutual friend between myself and Sam Livingston was playing him music from my latest album and music from just music I've sent him. And Sam kind of became a fan because he just started to kind of listen to a lot of my music in headphones, and he instantly felt like it could be part of the show. And at one point in the show, they were working on the finale, and he had listened to All For Us so many times. He was like, I can literally hear this song in this finale. And he didn't say this to me. He said it to me way later after the show was out. But he was just like, I wrote this last episode and the ending to your song, because it was just like, it said everything I wanted to say in that last piece. So I was just like, it's wild to think that an idea that was just such a small little seed could turn into something like that. And so after he told me he wanted me to basically make the finale record, we just started hacking away at it, and it kind of helped me finish the song, because I had this big chorus, and I'm doing it all for us, I'm doing it all for love. And then he kind of came up with the idea of adding a drum line and adding a bigger choir and adding all these bits that just made it an extravaganza and made it like kind of theatrical and dramatic, you know. And I loved it because you can really tell he loves music by the way he even took All For Us to another level. And then of course Zendaya had heard my version, and she really loved my version, and she felt kind of like, I don't know if I could do it exactly the way he's done it on this record. It suits him so well. And so she was like, I'm gonna do it in my own way. And then when I heard her version, one thing that happens with a lot of artists or like actresses or actors is that they're not always great at being performers, you know, like they're not always like, they can't take the same emotion and kind of deliver it in the same way. But for me, I felt like she found her own way of doing what I would do. And when I heard it back, I was like, this is incredible. Feels like a modern day Aaliyah. And I was just like, I was instantly in love with what I heard.
Yeah, she's so talented. And
Yeah,
it's so lovely that neither of you had an ego about it. It was like you were so artistically open to her putting a spin on a song that you obviously put a lot of love and soul into. And we get that result. That's why people are still talking about it. And it ends the season so perfectly, as you say. I was just also thinking, I know that episode 5, which is called '03 Bonnie and Clyde, is the episode that you're submitting as your, highlight episode of the season. And that features some awesome percussive and ambient elements, and a version of Nate Growing Up, a version of WTF Are We Talking For? What was it about that particular episode that you really enjoyed in particular?
Especially with like the intro of episode 5 and telling Maddie's story, I just enjoyed the journey that it kind of took me on. And I remember Sam giving me references to all these different incredible composers and artists and musicians that he was listening to at the time. And he kind of laid the ground rules, which was like, go the hell wherever go wherever the hell you want, like whatever way you're inspired by this scene, and do your thing. And so I just kind of I'm a mad fan of synthesizers. I'm a crazy fan of like kind of 1960s kind of what would I call it, bossa nova music, just classic 60s sound. I really enjoy it. So I just kind of wanted to use all of these different tones that I and kind of them together, and that's usually my production style anyway. So I kind of went with that approach with this scene. But I loved that I was allowed to go from this kind of orchestral / electronic intro with this like the way I imagined it was like kind of tambourines, like I call them Beach Boy tambourines.
Yeah.
And what's it, kind of almost droney 1970s sci-fi bass lines, like with the synthesizers, and then you've got strings sitting over the top. And for me, having these juxtaposed energies sitting around each other was just exciting for me. And then to kind of tell her story, it felt like I was allowed to kind of have this slowly like evolving sound. Writing the score for episode 5 was extremely exciting because Sam allowed me to have full reign on whatever I wanted to do. He didn't have a particular style or genre or idea. It was just more to do with music that inspired us both, which was like Yeezus, Kanye's album Yeezus, Edward Scissorhands by Danny Elfman, and just like 9 Inch Nails, all these different references that we all loved. And then of course he was just like, whatever way you're inspired to do the score, then do your thing. So I just started to produce, I started to kind of add all these different tones, and classical was an element of it. Not like kind of classic vintage 1960s and 70s tones. I've always been a fan of and loved that texture. And then I've always been a fan of like synthesizer music. So I kind of was like, how, whatever way works for me instinctually, how can I approach this score? And that's basically what it was. Every scene inspired the sound that you're hearing. So every time I saw something, I was like, okay, this feels like I want to use an MS-20, Korg MS-20 on that. I feel like I need to use tambourines here. And I feel like I need to use like a kind of sampled string line here. And so there was a lot of that with the score. And then I would send it over to Sam, and he would just come back with different ideas or different ways I could approach it. But he didn't lean in too much. He was just like, I just want to hear what you do. And he most of the time loved what he was getting. So I was like, whew.
What a dream. What a dream. Let's do a deep dive into a few of the, to me, all the tracks are great, but we don't have time for all of them. So some of them.
Yeah.
Formula is this gorgeous, layered, trippy song that starts with E equals MC squared, and then you've got lines like, screws loose on a Monday, screws loose goes to propane. Where did that song come from? It's really good.
Oh, thanks, man. Formula was, I wanted to almost write a song about the thing that she's addicted to, and it's just like, that's the formula to her sanity, and that's the formula to her being able to switch off her brain, and because she's going through so much that kind of depression and stuff like that. And so I kind of imagined it like let me explain all of her pain, and like when you see at the start and the first scenes, the doctor says she's got issues, there's things wrong with her, she needs to take pills, and so she's instantly introduced to drugs. And so like all of these different formulas are things that are supposed to help her disappear and let go, you know? And so I just wanted to make a record that had a almost modern sound with like the kind of electronic trap kind of vibe, but just had sci-fi weirdness on top of it, and just like kind of like modern day teenage glitchiness. That's how I kind of imagined it anyway.
Yeah, I like that. It's a close first for my favorite track, but one of my favorites is Forever. That's primarily this falsetto, yearning vocal melody repeated over and over again over this piano. And it serves as the intro to the Jules character, who is Hunter Shayfish, one of the highlights of the show.
Incredible.
The sequence itself is beautifully directed and edited, and the song's so evocative. What inspired you to write that really unusual track?
I've always been a fan of like Native American, like indigenous people of America, where they do a chant and they just keep doing it again. And some people to some people that doesn't make any sense, but in tribal and spiritual kind of songs, it's you repeat the same tone again, and eventually you start to have this spiritual kind of awakening. And that happens in church as well, and that happens in a lot of different music that I've been inspired by. And so, and house music is the same. It's just this fall to the floor, this groove and trance, and it's just going, and then before you know it, your body's just elate, you know. And so for me with Forever, I wanted to do this little intro that just sets you up to fly off into the hemisphere. And so like I just wanted to repeat I'll be forever, because that's what that feeling is, that feeling of love or that feeling of connectivity. And eventually I kind of hoped that people would feel like they finally let go, you know. And that's literally what the vibe was.
Oh, it gives me chills. Nate Growing Up is another one. Nate Growing Up's really urgent and propulsive and angry. The use of vocal and piano again, and you've got this subtle percussive hook underneath it. It's a really, really effective for what we're seeing on the screen as well. Talk us through that one.
Nate Growing Up was just when we were talking about Yeezus and some of the kind of almost hip hop mentality, and that's what I wanted to do with a lot of the score. Is like, even how would a hip hop producer produce a score writer? And that's how I imagined it. And so I was like, okay, I'm using all these acoustic and like I would play some of these acoustic elements like I was a musician, which I am, but I would kind of think of more I would put on more of the hat of a musician, and then I would go, okay, how would Kanye or how would Swiss or one of these guys approach using all of these different tones? And then I would kind of start sampling myself and then editing in these bits into where I wanted them to be. And then with Nate Growing Up, I just wanted it to be urgent because I felt like his character was he's on edge. He's constantly on edge and he's hiding so much.
Yeah.
And
he's
almost traumatized by his childhood without even knowing it. And so he's growing up with all of these things happening inside of him, but having to pretend that he's got it all together because of this to safeguard his family's name. And so I really liked the idea of just doing this kind of aggressive, I'm masculine, but there's an element of I'm frightened as well, you know. And so that's why I kind of wanted to write for that. Is just this kind of balls out, choppy, hip hoppy kind of energy with urgency.
Yeah, and in Nate Growing Up, it's that little piano hook that you do after the vocal bit. That's what kills me. Love it.
Right.
Yeah, I love it. Still Don't Know My Name is
just a
ting. I've always that's my
I love
Raymond's.
I've always loved that in records. Like in a lot of hip hop records, they have this kind of like atonal dissonant like tone, like where you just put two semitone notes right next to each other and just kind of let them ring out. But I that for me is like been some of my favorite things to happen in hip hop records. So I just I need it.
You did it. So you had to do it. Still Don't Know My Name's got lyrics like I would die or stay for you right now, but you still don't know my name. It's obviously about somebody never getting the attention of the person they love. Was it inspired by anything apart from the show? Like, where were you getting the ideas for that one?
Still Don't Know My Name. Still Don't Know My Name was inspired by the character, Barbie's character. I've lost her name.
Cat?
Cat, sorry, totally left my head. But Barbie's character, Cat, was a person that just kind of disappeared into the sea of people in school and doesn't get noticed, and she gets overlooked so much. And it kind of felt like I wanted to write a record from that perspective, because I felt like that before in my as an artist before. I felt like that creatively, and I felt like and I feel like a lot of people have felt like that as kids, you know. So I felt like I instantly had the lyrics to that experience, but it was simultaneous with Rue wanting the love of Jules, and so it's like Jules still doesn't see her. It's like, oh yeah, you're my friend, and it's like but you still don't know me, you still don't see me the way I want you to see me, you know? And so like, it's like, I have to imagine loving you the way I want to love you. And then it's like, but you still don't see me, you know? So I just kind of, it was written from all those perspectives for me.
Yeah. There's heaps of other tracks. We could sit here all day, but I know you have other things to do. Euphoria Funfair is a 10-minute suite, beautiful, demanding excellence, this soft vocal turns into this muscular hip-hop sound, beautiful. Yeah. But look, I think, you know, I implore people to listen to it. It's a really visceral experience to listen to your album without even having seen the show. And that's pretty special. So thank you for creating a great album, Labrinth. And I know you've got, you know, you've been collaborating with Sia and Diplo, and you had a new album out last year. Literally have 20 seconds, but what's next for you?
Doing more. Of course, I'm doing the next season of Euphoria, so we'll see what kind of album that creates. And then I'm going to put out more music and more albums. And hopefully people watch out and listen out to hear the more extravaganzas coming from whatever angle they come out from.
Brilliant. I can't wait. Well, thanks for your time today.
Thank you for doing this.
Not at all. Everybody go to Gold Derby, make your predictions, click subscribe. We have plenty of contender chats just like this one with Labrinth.